an infant's guardian angel, and an update on some near-death experiences. All this and more on this episode of Real Life Angel Encounters. Angels, we all have them. They're our unseen guides, our companions, our teachers, and they're all around us. Sometimes they make themselves known in the most miraculous ways. Join me, Level 3 QHHT practitioner, angel communicator, and Reiki master, Christi Clemons Hoffman, with stories from real people who have experienced uplifting phenomena and real-life angel encounters. Welcome back to Real Life Angel Encounters, the podcast for people who like positivity in their paranormal and their spirituality with actual spirits. Welcome back. I am Christi, your host, Christi Clemons Hoffman. That is, I am an intuitive and hypnotist based in the Kansas City area. And you can find me at radiatewellnesscommunity.com, my website. Before we get too much further into this episode, you may remember one of our callers, Susan, who was featured in the Real Life Angel Encounters book, as well as season 1 of Real Life Angel Encounters. You'll want to go back and revisit her previous interview and check out her story in the book. If you've not ordered it already, you can get it at many metaphysical shops, but also on Amazon, Goodreads, Barnes & Noble, bookshop.org, my favorite. Anywhere you find books online, Real Life Angel Encounters, real stories from real people who have had miraculous encounters. Susan's story is of her near-death experiences, and she reached out recently and told me she had some updates for you. And plus, we have a caller that I met while from doing another podcast interview myself. I think you're going to enjoy these stories. Before we get too much further into this episode, though, I would like to please remind you to share this episode with your contacts, to also like and subscribe, follow all the things wherever you're listening right now so that you get notified next time we have an episode coming out. But also what this does is it helps boost our numbers. I'm not sure how it works, but they tell me that really helps a lot when people like and follow and subscribe and share, but also maybe write a review. Why not? That really, really helps. And you know what? The more people find out about this podcast, the more stories we get just like these. So win-win, right? On with the show. And now we have Azariana from Connecticut. Now, Azariana, listen to me on a podcast, and I'm trying to remember which one. Do you remember?
That's Paranormal Soup, I think.
Oh, yes. That was so much fun. That was a blast.
It was, yes.
A great host. Well, thank you for joining me today. So you've got a fantastic story. Would you like to share it?
Sure. Well, we were talking about angels. You were discussing about angels. And I had called in and I said that one place that I lived, and we all lived together at the time, it was a haunted house anyway. But I happened to look into one of my grandkids' rooms, and the new baby, my new grandbaby, I had seen her angel, and it was over the crib, the bassinet type thing. And I mean, I can't justify or explain the beauty of this angel creature type thing, you know? And she spoke telepathically and asked me, "You see me?" And I said, "Yes, I see you." And I said, "You're beautiful." I says, she had yellow, but it was like glowing around her like an aura even more. The beauty, the brilliance of it. And I explained that I do see her and thank you for letting me see her. And I know that she was going to be her guardian. I call it guardian angel. And I hadn't seen my other granddaughter's angel, but I was told by her that she was blue. She had a blue color. And I was like, oh, okay. Blue. But now I did ask her name and she did say something, but it was in, I don't know what kind of language it was, but it was so hard to understand the true language of them. And it did not translate to anything that I can understand in English, but I'm hoping it was a very beautiful name.
Right. Now, this was the yellow one that told you their name, right?
Yes.
Okay. I wonder if it was Jophiel.
I don't know. It was definitely a female image.
Yeah.
And like I said, the radiance, the yellow with the white, and she was huge.
Yeah. So Jophiel, she's an archangel, and we all have an archangel with us from birth to death, in addition to a guardian angel from birth to death. And Jophiel is the archangel that is over beauty. So anything that's beautiful, that she's over that. So I don't know. Maybe it could have been. And then with the blue, that could have been Haniel. Haniel is the archangel who's over moon cycles. So I don't know. That's beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah. Well, both my granddaughters have gifts. It seems to be passed down from the females and whatever various gifts that come down from that. And the gifts I have, I've learned, is seeing angels, spirits, all kinds of things. And I communicate with them anyway.
Oh.
And me working with angels.
Right. So you work with angels. Wonderful. What type of work do you do with them?
I call myself a pagan, but I am a witch. So a Strega witch, Italian witchcraft. And it goes back. And when we cast a circle, we use the angels. We use Uriel, Raphael, Gabriel, and Michael, or Michael. And so I learned that from casting the circle using the angels, that the power or wisdom that I get from working with them, it's awesome. It's beneficial. It's positive. It's very nice.
Yeah. So you said your granddaughters have gifts as well. What type of gifts do they have?
The one with the yellow, she sees things and she'll say, oh, I know that's going to happen or this or that. So she does that. My other granddaughter, now I'll tell you a story. When she was born, she sounded like she was trilling like a dragon.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with dragons.
Yes.
Yeah. And when they put her on the table after she was born, I swear she was on all fours.
Oh, my goodness.
And then they turned her over and the whole thing.
How old is she now?
Oh, she's in her 20s now.
Oh, okay. Okay. So this was, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But she's always talked to spirits in the room where they were. She's always told me about her dreams, and I would write them down.
Yeah.
And I would ask her about them because she would always say, I see this, or I see this when I dream, or I had a dream. I don't understand it. And I would say, okay, well, what was your dream? And I would write it down. So she now has a child, and that child, I think, is, I won't say a starseed, but that child, I think, is, I don't know what they call them now. The new one, the children that are.
Well, there were indigos started it off, and then crystals, and then rainbows. Then there's the gold and platinum and diamond. So there's the new generations are just coming and coming and coming. So yes, one of the new kids.
Well, he's also a newer soul.
Oh, okay. Okay. One who hasn't been on this planet for long.
Yeah, I see new souls and old souls. And he's a newer soul in a human body.
Yes, yes, yes.
And he hasn't had a human form for I don't know when.
Right.
And I connected with him, and I know he has gifts. I told my granddaughter not to squash them.
Right.
I said, if he has dreams about anything, please write them down. Remember them. Don't tell him that's just something. Don't worry about it. That kind of,
Say that we did an episode of this podcast. I'm looking for the episode number about children. And that was episode 2.15, which was several weeks ago in summer of 2025. So those of you, if you're listening later on, you can find that episode 2.15. The Kids Are All Right is the name of that episode about children. And it's like you grew up with some of these gifts. And so you know about that.
Yes. I've had a lot of different gifts over the years that I've lived. And I also know a lot of my past lives. But when I work with angels, I work with dragons also. I do a lot of work with dragons. But the angels I call upon for, I think, more when I need some kind of messages or help.
Yes, they're always ready to help.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know my angel. I know I have one, probably what we would call a guardian angel.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know her name and I don't know what she looks like, but I know that she is always with me.
Yeah. You could probably feel her around you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for telling your story, Azariana. I totally believe that your grandkids are protected. I think we all are protected at all times by our angelic team. So it's always nice to have that confirmation, isn't it?
Yes, it is. We're all blessed with everything.
We are.
Blessed.
And next up is Susan Walter of SusanWalterArt.com fame. You may remember Susan from season 1 to talk about her near-death experiences, plural, in a story called But I Don't Know How to Paint. So there's apparently more to the story that came out, like last week we got talking and found out there was more to tell. So I welcome Susan back. Good to see you again. Coming back.
Oh, thank you for having me back again and for sharing part of my story in your book.
Yes.
I have gotten a copy. I haven't had the time to read it all, but I do have a copy.
And I need to sign it for you. Or did I?
Well, yeah.
If I have not signed it for you, I need to sign it for you.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, that reminds me. I've got one of your card decks that I need to have you sign. Didn't think about it.
Yeah.
Text you or something.
Yeah, and you'll have to get the new one.
And I have to get the new one. We'll get to that. We'll get to the new one.
Yeah, we'll get there.
You have not one, but 2 near-death experiences. Yeah.
Yes.
Go over those again briefly for those who have not read the book or listened to your first episode on the podcast. And you guys really need to step up and do that.
Yeah, the very first one was at the age of 4. And I remember laying on the couch wearing a summer dress, and Mom had put a blanket on me, and I was so weak I couldn't even move the blanket, even though I was very, very hot, but not only because it was summer, but as it turned out, I probably had a temperature right around 104, 105 degrees.
Oh, gee whiz. Okay.
And this was a time in rural Iowa on the farm where I grew up, where the doctors still came to the house. They used to actually make house calls.
That's really cool.
But the doctor came, they examined me. I was very quickly determined that I needed to get to the hospital as soon as possible. But I'm watching this conversation between my parents and the doctor as they walk into the next room, but I'm looking down on them. So I'm like up by the ceiling. So I've already left my body at this point, but still cognizant of who I am. And they're discussing if they're going to take me to University of Iowa Hospital, which is like an hour away, or to the local hospital that's more like 10 minutes away. And the doctor's adamant that we need to get to the hospital as soon as possible. So we went to the local hospital where I ended up having life-saving surgeries.
Wow. So you were not just like sick with a virus.
No, what actually happened was that according to the medical records, I had a ruptured hernia.
Oh, no. Oh, so you were going septic.
Yes.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah. But while my body was in surgery, I went to this garden. It was glowing and glittering is the best way I could possibly describe it. And there's like these massive trees everywhere that I had never seen a tree that large in Iowa, but I would now equate them to like the redwoods in California. They were that big.
Wow.
And underneath one of these trees were 3 beings that I immediately and just knew they were my angels. And yes, particularly in the first experience, because I was so young, I think they really just occupied my time. And because I was growing up on a farm, very familiar with animals, and I was notorious for if there was any nest of mice or rabbits or birds, I would find the nest of the young ones and I would very gently play with them and then put them back exactly where I found them. So that gives you a little background, but the angels then asked me if I wanted to see the world through the eyes of the animals. So in this first experience, I was viewing the world from a very different perspective, but I stayed within animals that I was familiar with. Yeah, because my uncle up the road was raising cattle. My father raised hogs or pigs.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So I stayed within the mice and the rabbits and the frogs and things I was familiar with. I don't really remember waking up. I have a memory of waking up from that experience.
Yeah, I have a question though. You were allowed to see the world through the eyes of the animals. How did did it look different?
Yeah, it did. It's like the colors were a little bit different. Of course, a very different perspective because, and they did, from what I can remember, all the animals that they had me in were also like the young ones. So they weren't full grown. So it was also just a lot closer to the ground. So, seeing a lot of grass.
Okay, good point. But you were just a little one too. You were a little one.
Yeah. And I was tiny for my age, always was.
And you're on the small side as a grown woman,
Yeah, 5'3". So so I'm within the petite range, that's for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And you didn't even tell your parents about this, I seem to remember.
Not really, no. Because of my age, I didn't have the vocabulary. And the term near-death experience didn't even exist yet. So I was, according to my parents, I was telling stories.
Right. Yeah, because Dr. Raymond Moody, who I've interviewed on the Radiate Wellness podcast, had not yet.
No, he hadn't. It didn't exist for another at least 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was in rural Iowa. I would not likely have heard it anyway.
True. And you were what, 4?
Yeah, I was,
Yeah, so you wouldn't have, even if it had been around, you would not have heard it.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, you guys have to go back and listen to the first interview with Susan or read it in the book. There's so much detail. I remember you were talking about these big trees and everybody had their humming around the trees.
Yeah, there was it's like I couldn't see what was going on underneath the other trees, but I could hear things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it seemed like a lot of joy and a lot of laughter.
Oh, amazing that you still remember this from age of 4. It left an impression.
Yes, it definitely. It's what started me on my journey to ask questions. And I used to get in trouble in Sunday school all the time for asking questions because there was just things that didn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Like I remember asking, how long is God's day anyway?
Yeah, that was one thing that was like, it just didn't make sense to me that this massive being, that their day was the same as ours. It just wasn't logical to me. And there's a lot of things, a lot of contradictions in the Bible if you really start really reading it.
Right.
And it's been, so many things have been changed.
So many things have been changed. And then you had another near-death at age 6.
Correct. Yeah, and under the same circumstances, again, a ruptured hernia.
Oh my God.
So again, having to have the life-saving surgeries. And the thing is, there were even other hernias removed before rupture in between there.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was never really fully understood why I kept having these hernias, but it was something I eventually outgrew. Let's just say that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Very weak muscles.
Apparently. Yeah. Apparently, something about my structure wasn't designed quite the way everybody else's is.
Right. Interesting. Okay. What happened?
Now, I don't remember anything into the buildup of it. I just remember all of a sudden, I'm back in the exact same glittering, glowing garden with the exact same 3 angels. I don't remember all the questions that I asked them, but I remember that I did ask a number of questions about things I was being taught in Sunday school.
My teacher says,
something kind of like that. And they pretty much just assured me that, that there was a lot of things, because so much time had passed, a lot of things were misunderstood.
Okay.
Oh. That was pretty much the way they left that and explained it. But I remember they're explaining it to a 6-year-old, because then I know some people in their near-death experiences, especially those that have had ones in their childhood like I did, they then don't have the consciousness of the child anymore. But I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, and you
Yeah.
were 2 years older by then, so you're a bit more mature and maybe understood a few things.
Few things.
Right. I mean, still you're 6.
Yeah, I was 6 and very naive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm back in the same garden asking my questions about Sunday school. And then they asked me again if I wanted to see the world through the eyes of the animals again. But this time it was some more mature animals. But then eventually I'm in animals I'm not familiar with, where eventually I'm even swimming in space.
Wow.
Because what I believe was the ocean in this just massive body that was probably some type of whale.
Wow.
And, whales have a consciousness that we are not yet fully understanding. They're much, much more intelligent. But yes, I have wondered sometimes, are they really maybe capable of doing that, of swimming in space? I've just wondered. But anyway.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, but from there, then I'm witnessing and yet at the same time experiencing from this a central light is the best way I can describe it, where it almost looks like it's breathing, literally like inhaling when almost, how sometimes when you inhale, your stomach expands. It's like this light would expand with the inhale and then exhale. But as it exhaled, all these souls were being birthed. Right. Yeah. And it's like then with the inhale, just some of them would go back, not all of them. Yeah. And this kept going, that went on for quite a while. Just kind of these inhales and exhales. And you could see, like, witnessing where all these different souls were choosing to go.
Oh, how interesting. Yeah, that is a new wrinkle that was not in your original story. Yeah.
And then it showed where I was birthed, my soul was birthed through one of those exhales. And I was just immediately going to the frequencies or the dimensions, whatever you want, phrase fits, works for you, of the angelics. Because, they do exist in a faster frequency than we do. So that's where I was headed. But my soul and the soul of 2 others were like pulled aside and recruited to become what this other being called. And this being looked very much like one of the angels that I had seen, in the garden, but larger. And it was a totally different one. My guess, I believe it was Archangel Metatron, but of course I'm not 100% sure on that because this being angel did not identify themselves.
Okay.
But from the drawings and things that I've created since then, I'm fairly sure that it was Archangel Metatron. But again, asked to become a planet creator, my soul and the soul of 2 others. And we were shown on this being manifested, like unrolled, like it looked kind of like a computer screen today. But of course, I'd never seen anything like that at the time. But it just looked like almost like a fabric, a heavy fabric being unrolled. And there was scenes on this which showed us what it'd be like if we did take that role and what it'd be like if we didn't.
Oh, how interesting.
The other 2 beings chose not to take the role. One of them did go to the angelic realm and is now one of my personal angels.
Whoa. Yeah, I was wondering if you knew these other beings.
Yeah, and the other one, I have no idea where they are at this time, but one of them is still with me today.
Oh.
But yeah, so I obviously to take on that role, but to be honest, I'm still trying to fully understand what it even means. I'm sure it has something to do with some of the things, the art that I create today, particularly the mandalas.
Yes. Now, I was going to say, I've seen this in QHHT, people who are world creators, right?
Yeah, they use the word planet, but I think that was probably also partly because who they were, trying to make it so I'd understand. Because
absolutely.
Still somewhat the child and the consciousness of, I don't think the full child, 6-year-old at that time. I think I had a little more conscious awareness at that point in the experience, but still not like an adult.
Right. So you had these 2 near-death experiences and you started seeing these angels like outside of these experiences.
Afterwards, I did. And I even actually then remembered more details than after being experienced. That's the part of what I know I haven't shared with you.
Okay, let's have it.
Because from there, I went to, I would call it a training, not a school, because when we think of school, we think of desk and chairs.
Yeah.
And this was much more open than that, because I remember even some of the training took place like outdoors and, under similar type trees. And every one of the kind of my remembrances of this experience, always in the distance or sometimes on the edge of it, was, I guess you would call it a city of light, but it looked like it was made out of solid crystal, all the structures, but yet like some of the architectural details and the things like nails or whatever were holding it in like brackets, holding the structures together, holding like massive sheets of quartz together, was what looked like solid gold. And in the center of the city was a structure that looked like it was, the whole thing was made out of solid gold.
Oh,
I don't have a remembrance of ever going to that structure though. Yeah, and I wasn't in this training alone. I would almost have to say hundreds of other beings taking these trainings. And sometimes, I guess, just to explain it, sometimes the classes would be smaller than that, just because like not everybody, just like when you go to school, there's some people in kindergarten, some people in high school. You're not all taking the same classes together. And it wasn't like, okay, I'm done with first grade, so now I go to second grade. It was more, once you understood this concept, then you moved on to the next concept. But it was more about things like sacred geometry and frequency and sound. And those were the focuses of the training.
okay.
Working with energy.
Yeah.
Creating balls of energy.
Right.
And then what to do with them.
Who was teaching these classes?
Sometimes it was like, say, if you're in first grade, sometimes it's somebody in second grade or third grade. Sometimes it was other masters.
Mm-hmm.
But then other times you'd see those same masters in a class with you. It's like just because they had mastered one thing didn't mean they'd mastered another.
Okay.
So some of these faces were faces we would recognize as some of our ascended masters. But there were others that, because there were hundreds
How
of
interesting.
beings in these, taking in different places in these classes.
Now, how did you recover these memories?
It's like the more I seem to talk about it, my experience, the more details I'm able to remember.
Okay. Yeah. Beautiful. How long total do you think these experiences lasted?
Couple hours max.
Wow.
And then at the end of the training, you're taken to like different temples or structures made out of different types of stone to help slow the frequency of the slow soul down to be able to eventually take on a physical body.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so from what I can remember of that, I would almost associate those different structures with the stones we associate with the different chakras. And even the very last one, garnet is often associated with the root chakra. The very last one was almost this translucent pink garnet.
How interesting. So what do you feel like you do with all this training now? Like what do you do with it?
I think that's what I'm trying to convey through my art, because really my goal with what I'm creating my hope is to help people connect to the divine on a deeper level, not just to find and connect with their own angels, but with the divine itself.
Yeah. So let's fast forward to your art. And of course, you tell the story in the book and in the first interview that we did. But for those who are not familiar, can you tell us about how the art came about?
The art, that started in 97 when I realized I wasn't just seeing my own angels anymore. Because up to that point, I only saw my own. But in 97, I realized I was seeing everybody else's. And at the time, I had 2 teenage sons and 2 toddlers, so it's a little busy. But so as soon as I could, I went into meditation and just gone, okay, what am I supposed to do this? Why me? I think all those type of questions any of us would ask.
Yeah.
But they were very adamant that I find a way to either paint or draw them. And I argued for about 6 or 7 months before I finally gave in and did my first angel portrait.
Yeah.
For who at the time was a family friend.
Yeah, they're very insistent about those kind of things.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever tried arguing with angels. I can guarantee you're going to lose. So it may take a while, but
yeah, that's how I started this podcast, Real Life Angel Encounters. I lost an argument with my angelic team.
And it happens all the time.
It happens all the time.
Yeah, and then there's those of us that try to just ignore it or just because we're not ready to take on those roles yet, but we always seem to end up circling back to it every single time.
Well, now you've had quite a bit of success with your art. Now, yes, of course, the story was, but I don't know how to paint and learned and
and I think they really helped me learn how, because really what I started out doing is it was back before the internet. You got these massive catalogs from the art supply store with all this, and I would just pour through page by page, really looking and trying to figure out all these different mediums and what was going to work for me.
Exactly. Because and didn't you started off with something really difficult, I think, watercolors or something?
Yeah, I tried watercolors first, very quickly learned how that is probably the most difficult medium out there. At least for me, it is. Because, controlling water is.
Right.
And that's a lot of what working with watercolor is. So the first ones, for several years, I used pastels. Because I do, and I still love the way they blend and how easy it is to blend the different colors.
Mm-hmm.
But I still wasn't good enough with them to really get detail. And that's when I switched to colored pencil, which is what I still use today.
Well, and there's much of your art on the back or the wall behind you, I should say. But those aren't angels, are they?
No, I now do some acrylic paintings, and I'm experimenting even with water-based oils right now, too.
Oh.
So there's a lot of sacred geometry in some of the paintings that I do, symbolism from all different faiths and beliefs, particularly ancient, more, things like ancient Egypt, Tibet, Native American, all different things I find inspiration in.
And you have won awards for your art.
I've won a few awards, particularly with an organization called COVER, which is the Coalition of Visionary Resources. And I'm actually even on their board right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I mean, who knew back when all of this was going on? And you have these.
If you'd have told me I'd be doing this today, I would have thought you were absolutely nuts.
Absolutely nuts. That is crazy. So you've taken this experience of meeting with angels and seeing them and just really parlayed it into a completely different life for yourself.
Yes. And now I'm full time with the art too.
Fantastic. I know you yourself fully with your art. It's wonderful to watch. And you've got a new card deck.
Yes. This is the new one, the Angelic Wisdom deck, the 72 Angels of the Divine. So it's the 72 angels from the Kabbalah that each hold one of the names of the divine creator.
That is so cool. I can't wait to get my
Yeah, like this is one of the cards. So there's even like their name in Hebrew, the ancient angelic sigils. This is the more modern sigil. But and then information about that angel and what they can help you with is actually right on the card.
Oh, how amazing. You must have researched that quite a lot.
Yeah, I did. Use several different books that are out there, making sure I got the language right, the seals right. And there's a lot of information been written about each one of the angels. So it's kind of reading all those. And as I drew each one of them, I would a lot of time just get different things that come to mind. And I'd write those words on the back. And then I also incorporated that into the information as well.
Yeah.
So it's like they would just give me maybe a 2 or 3 words that kind of said something about their personal energy. And I tried to incorporate that as much as possible.
Love that. Love that. Love that. Where can people find that?
All my art is on my website, which is susanwalterart.com.
Fantastic.
And of course, I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I have a YouTube channel where I do the Mandala Monday and Wisdom Wednesdays, where I pull one of the cards from the angel deck.
Oh, how cool is that? Yeah.
And working on more.
And of course, because you're very prolific. And you've got this unending channel, this conduit with your guy.
Sometimes it's hard to keep up with. everything that they have on my plate.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you guys, let me rest.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So all of that can be found at susanwalterart.com. And the story, more of the story can be found in the book, Real Life Angel Encounters. Real people share real stories of miraculous encounters, available wherever you get books. Thank you for sitting down with me again. I know when we talked the other day, I was like, well, you've got more to the story. We need to hear it. So thanks for doing this.
Oh, thanks for giving me a place to share.
Thank you for listening. Please subscribe and follow, and be sure to share this episode. The more people who know about this podcast, the more great story submissions we get. Have a story to share? Email your own real-life angel encounter to angelencounterspodcast@gmail.com or visit radiatewellnesscommunity.com/real-life angel encounters podcast. Or join our Facebook group and continue the discussion. Want to know what your angels and loved ones have to tell you? Schedule an appointment with me at radiatewellnesscommunity.com. A special thanks to James Wheeler for the original music and to Tiffany Baumgarten for the logo design.